Hi, welcome to Brady's Corner. I'm Brady, and this is my corner. We have Cheryl Osborn here today, and she is the founder and president of Casco Contractors. Casco Contractors is a commercial general contractor, and they specialize in tenant improvement as well as a number of things. I know that Cheryl and I have talked about safe working environments and a lot of things that they were doing innovative on that front. And today we're here to talk about a number of things. Cheryl, welcome. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Brady. It's such an honor to be here. It's been so great, our relationship over the past years. I'm Cheryl Osborn. I'm the president and founder of Casco Contractors. We specialize in mostly commercial tenant improvement, office space, labs, manufacturing, restaurants, pretty much anything that has an existing building, we can build it. We don't do any ground up. Obviously, it's been a little bit of a challenge over the past couple of years during COVID with people not really going back to work. So that's been it's been a very interesting business to be in, but I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I do want to share a funny story. So the first time we met, I came to your office, your CPA was there. And also there, you were at the head of the table over here, and there was a male executive leader across from me. And people always joke that, Brady, read the room better. And that was one time I definitely read the room better, and I physically moved my chair and faced you because I didn't know who was who, but that was just a feeling I got, the dynamic. And that's kind of the leadership that you exude. And I remember you said something to the effect of, Brady, you've made a wise choice.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, it's definitely a very male dominated field. So there's not always the assumption that the female in the room is the one in charge. So it was fabulous that you actually did that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, it's been fabulous working with you and knowing you for a number of years now. And you've really grown and dominated the industry in your space in Southern California. Can you talk a little bit about how did you start out? How did you get into construction? And then how did you start your own business?
So my father was very, he was a little bit disappointed when I was born because I was definitely supposed to be a boy. I have an older sister. And back then I'm dating myself, but this was way before ultrasounds. So they listen to your heartbeat and they're like, it's a boy, you're finally getting, the last, the name ended with me, and he was really excited to have a boy, and I came out and I was not a boy. So he, to my father's credit, he basically decided to raise me basically genderless. So really it's like, if you want to ride motorcycles, you ride motorcycles. If you want to paint your nails, you paint your nails. And so I kind of grew up being just empowered to do anything. I never really judged things based on gender. Like, this is something girls do, this is something boys do. And so I always say now, like, I can swing a hammer with the best of them, but I'm always afraid of breaking a nail. So kind of like the yin yang thing. But yeah, so I just had a passion for construction. I started out in interior design, and I realized that I really wanted to be in the building piece of it. So I went to school for construction management at Cal State Long Beach. And it was, it was me and 322 men. So it was kind of fun. It was a very interesting time. There weren't very many people in construction management back then. There are a lot more now, to their credit, but it's still on the lower side. So I just worked for a couple different businesses, and I didn't have a question for my boss for about 3 months. And I went, how hard could it be to own a construction company? I could probably do this. And I was pregnant with my second child. So I bought a laptop and I started my company with a baby and a laptop in my kitchen. And it just kind of grew from there. I think that it's just because it's my passion. I really love the industry. I love what I do. And it just kind of exploded over the last 20 years. So that was 21 years ago, actually.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And now, how big is Casco now?
So pre-COVID, we were approaching 70 million. Again, COVID has been really hard on my industry. So we took about a 35% hit over the past couple of years. Our projections are that we'll get back up to those numbers 70 so million, probably by the end of this year, beginning of next year.
That's fantastic. And then as far as number of people, about 50 or 60, is that right?
65. Yeah.
65. And then the makeup though of your folks is a little bit different than a lot of commercial general contractors. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and how you invest in technology and design?
Yeah, so we have a in-house interior design architectural firm. So we do interior and exterior design. And we have that in-house, which is pretty odd. A lot of people call it design build, but they actually go outside of the company to partner with a company where we actually have them as internal employees. So there's about 12 people in our design, and then the rest of the people make up the construction. And I think design build is really a phenomenal way of executing a project. It seems to be that the contractor has a little more responsibility because they're responsible for the design as well as the execution of it. There's not any finger pointing. Yeah, so design build is kind of a new buzzword, and we've sort of felt like we've been mastering it for a really long time. So I'm hoping it comes up. But I do also like to try to find women in construction and hire them as, project engineers, project managers. I really like the diversity piece of construction, because especially in Orange County, there's been a bit of a lack of diversity in commercial construction. So I really like to focus on that. And we also do a lot of exterior work, and we've started installing EV charging stations. So knowing that is a definitely going to be something that is huge in Orange County. I mean, they say 2% of people drive electric vehicles, but not in Orange County. That number's a lot bigger. So yeah, so we're just looking to build whatever people want to be built.
And it just so happens there's tax credits for those, so
Right.
it's a win-win. So
yeah, so we actually take care of all that. You're kind of the expert on the tax credits, so yeah, I might have to get some advice from you after this.
perfect. I love it. And talk about tax all day.
Right.
Well, let me ask you. So, on that point of finding the talent, attracting the talent, and retaining the talent, you mentioned 12 folks in your design team alone, 65 people on your team. It's grown significantly, even over the last 2 years. That's a lot of growth. Now, how have you done so? How have you attracted these folks and retained folks? What are you doing differently than other folks?
So the honest truth is it's very difficult, especially right now. I mean, and I think that every business owner and every HR person that's looking for talent is saying the same thing. It used to be that you could kind of predict what people wanted, and these extra perks, maybe extra perks in your office, like ping pong tables or pool tables, or lots of employee engagement events used to be enough. And now we're finding that we're not really sure what people want. We have to do a lot more experimenting. So we do like to do a lot of employee engagement, which is happy hours and holiday parties and things like that get people together, because from what they say, the millennials and the people that are in that really good sector of hiring, they want to feel engaged with something. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger. And so we've really tried to engage them in a way that they feel like they're changing something. So I always say, like, we don't cure cancer at Casco, but we can build you a space where you can cure cancer. So you can kind of feel like you're, part of something bigger. We've done so many things. We've done student loan payoffs to attract people. We've done, relocations where we're finding people in other states and bringing them over. It is really a full-time job, honestly. And I mean, we're meeting about it actually today. How do we get the greatest talent? And I think that people just want to know that their employer is invested in them and that they actually do care about them. And that's my full-time job, Chief Enthusiasm Officer.
Love it. I love it. So do you have employees in other states?
No, so we've just recruited from other states and actually just moved them out here, but we do not have them. Actually, you know what? That is a wrong statement. I do have one, a designer that relocated and we still retained her as a designer and she works remotely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's see. The future of the workplace. You spend a lot of time on that. You study it quite a bit, and continue to do so as your leader in Southern California in redesigning workspaces. What are you seeing that is changing? COVID, it wasn't just about the epidemic, but really kind of a changing culture. And
sure.
What are you seeing different in the future of the workplace?
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that, Brady, because I became an expert right around the time COVID came out, thinking it was only going to last a couple months. And here we are almost 2 years later, and it's still affecting, that industry. So what we've discovered is for a long time, people just weren't going back to work, but people weren't necessarily downsizing because there was so much uncertainty in the markets. So people were keeping their offices, but they weren't necessarily, so they weren't making those kinds of sweeping changes, but nobody was going to work. It got to the point where everybody really did want to get back to work. And so what we saw is people were investing in their space. The first and foremost thing I saw people investing in is health. So whereas maybe there might have been a smelly air conditioner servicing your building before, that automatically put people on high alert. Like, wait a second, this building is not safe for me to be in. So we did a lot of work. I had a bunch of employees get healthy building certified so that we could actually provide, first and foremost, safe workplaces, because people, were wearing masks and doing all that. Now that has sort of flushed out a little bit, but possibly coming back, who knows? What we're seeing now is people want more of they still want their offices, which everybody thought, everybody went to this big open, spend a ton of money on open office furniture, and people still like their offices and they don't necessarily want to share as much as people thought. The bigger companies, I see them sharing a lot of offices where you actually go in on an app and you program in, I'm going to have this office on this day for this amount of time. We're not seeing that with the smaller companies. We're not seeing people going after a lot less square footage. We're seeing them using their offices differently. They have more collaborative areas. I just did a lawyer's office and they wanted a big library with comfy couches. And, even though everything's online now, they thought that would be a good benefit for their employees to have something a little bit more like home, a little more comfortable.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Are you anticipating any other changes in the future of the work environment in your crystal ball?
I don't think that remote work is going away, for sure. I do believe not only as an employee retention matter, but also as just the way that people figured out that they could function. So many people are saying, like, I used to drive back and forth to work, and it was such a waste of time when I could be really productive at home. So, certain industries are more productive working remotely than others. We're never getting our accounting department back. They're very productive at home. It's very easy to track and manage their KPIs. So that's probably, I think those people are going to be at home. They like to be at home anyway. But we were struggling a little bit with getting our project managers and our project engineers back, because it's really hard to learn and it's really hard to grow and develop your career in a remote learning situation. So we've really tried to bring them in, but give them a little flexibility. So the flexibility is not going away. You have to be able to trust your employees. You have to be able to allow them to work, and that's not going away. The cleanliness piece, they're more interested in how their office is being cleaned, how their office is maintaining. And I think they're also starved for events and things. They want that the collaboration space as well. I mean, we just finished our ping pong tournament, and I couldn't believe the participation. Everybody was so into it because, it was a way to get, around everybody, right?
What are the current rules in Orange County? Do y'all have to wear a mask or whatnot? Or
So they just mandated masks in all public places, regardless of vaccination, between December 15th and January 15th.
gotcha.
You know, your office policies obviously can be different. We have maintained that we have if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. We're rethinking that. We're actually meeting about that today. We're rethinking that a little bit.
So it's really in flux.
It's uncharted territory. And so we're doing the best we can, I think, like everyone else.
Yeah. So in the folks that you've designed for, what are some things, has there been anything surprising that you've seen, consistently at your clients where maybe they want, this technology, or has there been an emphasis on filtration and whatnot? Or
No, I mean, there's been some fun things like little mini Zoom rooms and more like war rooms, lots more conference rooms. People are doing more meetings from a remote standpoint, but in, like where they're in the meeting, but they're meeting with someone who's, maybe somewhere else. So we're seeing a lot of technology, smart boards and things like that. I'm not seeing anything, like back in the technology day where Google put a slide in from their second floor to their first floor, we're not seeing any of that really sort of kitschy stuff. It's more things to get people together, to allow people to work remotely and do their jobs well. And then, an upgrade of finishes. People don't want to work in nasty, stinky places.
yeah.
If they're going to go to work, they want that to be a pleasurable experience for them.
I want to switch gears on you and go back to women in construction and talk about what advice you would have for somebody that was, maybe on the fence like you were. And, when you decided, you said you were pregnant with your laptop at your kitchen table, and I can do this. It sounds like, in your upbringing, you were empowered to have a certain appetite for risk. Let's talk about risk, appetite for risk, and what other folks, any advice you would have to women that, wanted to start their own construction firms, or even advance in leadership, or.
Yeah, so I do a lot of mentoring. So it's been one of my things because I was, blessed with having some really great mentors over the years. And so, and mentoring is not just people in the industry or people looking at the industry. It's really starting, I'm on the board of Girls Inc. and we start with girls that are in elementary school, 7, 8, 9-year-old girls, empowering them at that level, because I think it's really important so that girls don't grow up with that gender bias of what careers can be for women and what careers can be for men. So I think that's the most important thing for any woman in any industry that's not traditionally, a female industry. But as far as like the commercial real estate business, I think that it's gotten a little more construction, especially. So commercial construction in my area has gotten a little more refined. So when I first got into the business, I always called it the dirty jeans mentality, where, my competitors were wearing dirty jeans with a tape measure, and they, were gruff, and, you kind of thought, oh, that's successful. That guy's successful because he's being a jerk to me. And, customer service kind of came through and said, no, I don't think so. So it's become a lot more refined. It's become a lot more elegant. And I think that a lot more collaborative. So my advice to women is ask a ton of questions. So I think what happens a lot in especially this industry, because you can't really open up a book and read about it and figure out how to, be a general contractor. You really have to experience it. It's all about being open and asking questions and working with people on solutions. And I see a lot of women and men too, actually, that they kind of close up and they don't say anything at meetings, and they don't really want to speak up. But I always would say, I would like walk into a meeting and say, talk to me like I'm a preschooler. I don't understand what the problem is. Talk to me like I'm a preschooler. and you get so much more done. You have so much more opportunity. And I think if women had the confidence to do that more often, I think you'd see more women in these non-traditional roles, and you'd see more women taking risks and, you know, starting their own companies. I mean, really, I look back and I mean, if I knew what I knew now, I probably would never have jumped like I did, but I did, you know? And so I think that I have a bracelet that I made for myself, and a lot of people think it's bad, but it says ignorance and persistence. And that is kind of that is the story of my entrepreneurial life, because I really was a little bit ignorant on like what it took to get things to, you know, where they are at. But I was persistent. I woke up every day and I, you know, pounded the pavement. So
That's fantastic. And I think that's great advice, not only, as you mentioned, for both men and women, but also not just for people wanting to start their own business, but people just advancing professionally,
yeah.
you know, entrepreneurship as well. So,
Right.
so, you know, in summary, you're saying ask questions.
Ask questions.
And then, you know, what are your thoughts on getting out there and, you know, professional networking events after work? Nobody
Yeah.
likes to do it. Everybody has family and whatnot, but those
Yeah.
conferences.
Such an interesting, because I am now an empty nester. So it's just a little bit different because I do have a lot more, you know, I have a lot more ability to do that. I really did spend the first, you know, 15 to 18 years of my children. I have two daughters, 23, almost 24 and almost 21. And I did not do a lot of that industry marketing, you know, nighttime stuff, especially, you know, so there was a huge disparity there between me and say another guy that possibly, you know, had a stay-at-home caregiver that was, I don't know, women always want to be taking care of their children. They call it like, what is it, the 25th hour? Like we're always trying to be around, be present, make sure that they're taken care of. So it does, I think it's a little harder for women to do that, that business development, off hours business development than it is for men. I'm hoping to see that shift a bit as people take on more responsibilities and men and women start sharing more responsibilities. But that was definitely different. So, and it's exhausting too, let's be honest. Like
Yeah, everybody thinks that travel and whatnot is so exciting and glamorous. And, you know, what's funny is I try to always bring, when it's possible, to bring, you know, another BRAYNiac along. And they realize how exhausting it is. I mean, just the travel itself, and then we have mission to take care of, and we have to prepare for that mission. We have to execute. And then, you know what, there's 8 hours and we still have to catch up on the rest of the day. There's another 8 hours.
mhm.
So
It's exhausting. And I think, you know, I do, it would be interesting to see how it's affected, because there's been so much less of that happening during COVID. I'm wondering if that's the next area of innovation is how do you get out there and do business development and travel and marketing and things like that, maybe not as much as people used to do it, right? As being
Right.
out as much. Because it's
Yeah.
still an important part of business for sure.
So you're saying, you know, more of a blended approach, more strategic travel, and then blended, you know, with the virtual, as it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard of some really interesting things people are doing. I have a buddy of mine who owns a sprinkler company, and he is actually doing virtual wine tasting with people, with clients still now, even though, and it is a huge success. He sends them a bottle, you know, a couple bottles of wine, and they virtual wine test. And it seems like, oh yeah, another virtual event, but he's had really good luck with that.
That's fantastic. That's actually a smart idea.
Yeah.
I have heard of it where people are sending, you bring your own alcohol, but they send you the mixology type bags or whatnot, and
Yeah.
you kind of make it yourself. So.
That's probably some lawyer got involved and said, don't supply them alcohol, just supply them a mix, right?
That's right. Probably. It is California. It's
Right.
the most litigated state in the world, right? So let me ask you, on the construction side, do you see any changes, you know, I guess coming up over the next couple of years as supply chain starts to correct, and between tenant improvement and just, vertical construction as well? Or what are you seeing there?
Well, we have seen an enormous price increase in construction. I mean, I read something and it's anywhere between 22 and 30%. And I see it. So we do everything by dollars per square foot. So if say you have a 20,000 square foot office space, 2.5 years ago, you could have built out a pretty nice space for $60 or $70. Now you're talking $90 or $100. I mean, it's that significant. And what you're going to see is that the landlords are not going to end up funding all that. So it's gonna come out of tenants' pockets that are signing leases if they do want all the bells and whistles. I'm seeing it all the time. That's the one complaint I get all the time. Why is everything so expensive? And then obviously the supply chain issues we're having now. And I don't see that going down because we saw that happen in 2008 when everything crashed. And then, there was a huge cost increase of things. It never went away. So I'm not sure that once it gets established, it doesn't seem like it goes down. So I think that's here to stay. The supply chain issues, I can't even tell you, like our schedules have gone, if something was 12 weeks, before, now we're 16 to 18 weeks just because we can't get material and we can't get people. I mean, I'm in California, so California, its labor market is really compromised based on, just the opportunities for people, and also the lower paying jobs are really hard to find people for. So we're really struggling with truck drivers, laborers, cleanup guys, all of that, and all of my subs are struggling. So everything's taking longer. And so if you're planning a construction project, there's just a lot less that you have control over now than you did in the past.
And this question is really related to that. And, we're hearing more about mixed use with commercial buildings and residential being, built into existing commercial properties. Are you in on any of that, or is that, a potential in the future? And what are your thoughts on that?
It's always talked about, especially when you had some of these larger, buildings like Macy's and things like that were going through some financial struggles. It's always been talked about. I'm always part of the planning. Usually the things that I'm seeing of mixed use aren't necessarily being renovated into mixed use yet, but that's all over being talked about. Most of it was planned that way. You've got the district over here that's got it's in Tustin. It's all residential and commercial and retail on the first 2 floors. We're doing a renovation. We're bidding a renovation in San Diego on a historic building that has a residential component and a commercial component. I think it's a great way to live, right? Like if I were young and didn't really have a family, or even if I had a family, like I think it's a fabulous way to live.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going away at all. So especially with the population increase, I mean, you're going to need more space for people.
That's fantastic. Let's see. Any other advice for young folks starting in construction, or maybe even not in construction? That's one of the things that's talked about is, are you seeing a shift at all in people, whether or not they go to college versus trade school?
That is a big thing for me. Even though I put both of my children through college, which I don't know how I feel about at this point, but I am a huge trade school advocate. I mean, we are going to be short 30% electricians in 2030. And I mean, I'm telling you, there are so many opportunities in construction, especially for, I think it's really important at a young age to really, know what kind of industry you want to go in and what that looks like. So there's, people that want to be lawyers. Have they sat in on a mock trial? Have they sat in on, a discussion or a mediation that will bore you to tears, right? So like are the right people, not looking at just what the status is about going to college or a four-year university and what they think they can get out of it. I mean, I know plumbers that make more than lawyers.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that we have to, the industry has kind of been, construction has always been a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for when you look down upon it? It's always been a little bit like that. And I think we have to show that it could be a really great, profitable industry, so that people could go into it and you don't have to sit in front of a desk all day. There's a lot of people that don't want to sit in front of a desk. So there's, I think it's really important for girls and boys at a young age to, what do they want to do? Do they want to be out and about outside doing something, or do they want to be sitting behind a desk? Because that helps make decisions. I love trade school. There's a million of them. And I think that there's also a lot of employers that are doing sort of like a trade school in-house training. It's hard though, because you train them and then everyone wants to steal them. So we're still working that out. But I think that that really just asking questions at when you can still ask them, when you're not supposed to know, right? So at a very young age, exploring all these industries. And I can't tell you how many people are like, yeah, I went to law school and then I became a lawyer and I hate it because I didn't realize I'd be sitting at a desk reading all day. It's like, well, that's what lawyers do, So just really being informed about what the exciting things of people are doing. We're also partnering with Big Brothers, Big Sisters to bring some of these kids in, especially the high-risk youth, and maybe the underserved, bringing them in, showing them what it's like to be a day on a construction site and what they could expect, and hopefully like getting that fishing expedition going with them wanting to be on a job site.
Yeah, 100%. If they can envision it, right, and that it could become a reality for them. So
right, and you have to see it, you have to feel it, you have to experience it. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know everybody's going to love this. You're always a hit with everyone. So, are you going to be you're going to be speaking at Bake?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I actually put a microphone in front of me and I can't shut up. I do like to talk. I have a lot to say, but I think it's because I'm really passionate about what I do, and I'm really passionate about people and the construction industry and women and young girls especially. So yeah, I'm going to be speaking there. Hopefully they'll have me. So
if you want to see more of Cheryl, she's going to be in person in Scottsdale, Arizona, June 12th, 13th, and 14th at the Brayn Architecture, Engineering, Construction Summit, the Bake Summit 22. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining today. And thank you all for listening in at Brady's Corner. Please like and subscribe, and see you next time.
Thank you, Brady.